What if I told you there's a couple in their 40s? They make over $150,000 a year. They own a house, they have 2 cars, they have 3 kids. And from the outside, they look completely normal, maybe even successful. But if their paycheck stopped tomorrow, they'd be in serious trouble. No emergency fund, almost no savings. And after more than 20 years of working, they realized they were heading toward retirement with almost nothing prepared. The scary part? This isn't a story about irresponsible people. It's a story about normal people, people who did what they thought they were supposed to do. And that's exactly why this story matters. Because there's a good chance some part of it sounds familiar. Meet Sarah and Mike. They're both in their early 40s. Mike works as a university professor. Sarah works in healthcare. Together, they earn about $150,000 a year. Not rich, not poor, just solid middle-class income. The kind of income most people think should be enough. And honestly, it should be. But there was one problem. For years, they never had a plan. Every month looked exactly the same. Money came in, bills got paid, groceries got bought, the kids needed something, the house needed something, the car needed something, and by the end of the month, there wasn't much left. Then the cycle repeated. Again and again and again, year after year. Whenever Sarah brought up investing, Mike would say, "Don't worry, we'll figure it out when things calm down, when we're in a better position, when life gets less busy." And to be fair, Mike wasn't trying to be irresponsible. He genuinely believed things would work out. Most people do. The problem is, hope is not a financial plan. One day, Sarah finally said, "We need to sit down and actually look at the numbers. Not estimates, not guesses, real numbers." So that's what they did. And what they found shocked them. Their house was worth around $500,000. Their cars had value. On paper, they looked okay. But actual cash savings? Less than $2,000. Less than many families spend on a vacation. Less than many people keep in a checking account. Then someone asked them a simple question. A question that completely changed the conversation. If both of you stopped earning money tomorrow, how long would you survive? Sarah looked down. Mike looked away. Neither answered. Because they already knew the answer. Not long. Maybe a week, maybe 2. And suddenly, everything became real. Because for years, they thought the problem was money. But the problem wasn't money. The problem was direction. They were working hard, but they weren't moving forward. Imagine rowing a boat as hard as you can, but you're rowing in circles. That's what their financial life looked like. Lots of effort, very little progress. And then came the question that really hurt. The financial coach looked at Mike and asked, "When did you first think about investing?" Mike laughed. Then he said, "Honestly, probably 10 years ago. 10 years. 10 whole years." The coach asked, "So why didn't you start?" Mike gave the same answer millions of people give. "We were busy. We were moving. We had other priorities. We wanted to wait until things settled down." Sound familiar? Because that's exactly what most people say. Not next decade, not never, just later. The problem is, later has a funny way of turning into 10 years. Let's do some simple math. 10 years ago, Sarah and Mike could have invested just $500 per month, not $2,000, not $5,000, just $500. That's about $16 a day. If that money earned around 8% per year, after 10 years, they would have had roughly $90,000. Already pretty impressive. But here's where things get interesting. The first $90,000 isn't the real story. The real story is what happens next. If they simply left that money alone and gave it another 20 years to grow, that $90,000 could become nearly $450,000 without adding another dollar. Think about that. Almost $500,000, created mostly by time, not effort, not intelligence, not luck. Time. That's when Sarah got quiet, because she suddenly understood something. They didn't lose money, they lost years, and years are much harder to replace. Most people think retirement is about money. It's not. Retirement is mostly about time. The earlier you start, the more time does the work for you. The later you start, the more work you have to do yourself. Think about 2 people. Both want to retire at 65. Let's call them Jake and David. Jake starts investing at 25. David starts at 40. Same investments, same returns, same strategy. Who wins? Jake, and it's not even close. Let's say Jake invests $300 per month starting at age 25. David invests the exact same amount starting at age 40. By retirement, Jake could have over $700,000. David might have around $250,000. Same amount invested every month. The difference? Time. That's it. Time. This is why your 40s matter so much. Not because you're old. You're not. Not because retirement is tomorrow. It isn't. Your 40s matter because they're the last decade where small decisions can still create huge outcomes. You still have time, but not unlimited time. And here's something nobody talks about. Most people don't wake up at 65 and suddenly become unprepared for retirement. It happens slowly, 1 year at a time, one delay at a time, one excuse at a time, one "I'll start next year" at a time. Sarah and Mike didn't make one giant mistake. They made hundreds of tiny ones, tiny decisions that felt harmless, skipping investments, ignoring the numbers, avoiding difficult conversations, hoping things would somehow improve on their own. Because here's the truth. Most financial disasters don't happen overnight. They happen quietly, while everything looks normal. That's what makes them dangerous. The good news? The story doesn't end there, because after seeing the numbers, Sarah and Mike finally did something they had never done before. They made a plan, a real plan, not a wish, not a hope, a plan. They started tracking expenses. They reduced unnecessary spending. They built an emergency fund. They created automatic investments. Nothing dramatic, nothing flashy, just consistent action, month after month. And that's when something surprising happened. Their stress started going down. Not because they became rich, not because they won the lottery, not because they doubled their income, because for the first time, they knew where they were going. You know what's interesting? People think money reduces stress. Sometimes it does, but often, a plan reduces stress more than money, because uncertainty is exhausting. Not knowing is exhausting. Feeling lost is exhausting. And maybe that's the biggest lesson from this entire story. Retirement isn't really about retirement. It's about freedom. Freedom from constant anxiety. Freedom from wondering what happens if something goes wrong. Freedom from working forever because you have no choice. Sarah and Mike learned something most people learn too late. The best time to start was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. Because every year you wait, retirement gets more expensive. And every year you start, retirement gets easier. Moral of the story. If you're in your 40s and you've saved less than you wanted, don't panic, but don't wait. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need the perfect stock. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to start. Because retirement isn't decided by one giant decision. It's decided by thousands of small decisions made consistently over time. And the sooner you make those decisions, the more your future self will thank you for it. The biggest retirement mistake isn't starting late. It's knowing you should start and waiting even longer. Sarah and Mike didn't become millionaires overnight, but they did something more valuable. They stopped drifting. They started directing. Month 1, they set up automatic investments of $400 a month. Month 2, they built a $1,000 emergency fund. Month 3, they cut $300 in unnecessary spending and moved it to investments. Nothing dramatic, but by month 6, they had more saved than the previous 3 years combined. And their stress, it went down. Not because they were rich, because they had a direction. That's the real story, not the numbers, the shift from hoping to planning, from drifting to deciding, from avoiding to acting. If Sarah and David can do it in their 40s with almost nothing saved, so can you. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So here's your one action for today. Just one. Open an investment account. Set up $100 automatic monthly transfer. That's it. Start there. Not $500, not $1,000, just $100, because starting beats perfect every single time. Final frame. End card.